With the Tournament of Power now officially beginning, the stage is now set for the most intense showdown in all of Dragon Ball history as 80 warriors battle for their universe's survival in hopes of becoming victorious. But will this Tournament of Power give us what we need in order to establish itself as possibly being the greatest arc in all of Dragon Ball Super? On this video, we are going to go through 10 things the Tournament of Power must include in order for the arc to establish itself as believable and engaging. And joining me to tackle this monster is Dragon Ball YouTuber EmoshIsLivE, as we encourage you guys to watch through the entire video and seeing every point that is being made and giving us your responses down the comment section below as to what you would love to see be done in the upcoming Tournament of Power showdown. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, that way you will always be up to date and in tune with all that is in Dragon Ball news, discussions, updates, and more. Hashtag notification squad. Now, having to look at how important this tournament is on a holy scale to where every life form in each universe's existence is on the line, here are 10 things we would love to see be included in the upcoming Tournament of Power battle. Beginning with number 1, the Omni King keeping to his word and erasing the losing universes. Now, primarily one of the reasons why this should actually happen within the Tournament of Power, I feel, is because that'll show the rest of the fighters that the Omni King means business in keeping to his word and staying true, and not just bluffing to see the universal fighters actually compete at their highest level of power, but also showcasing the level of power that the Omni King has in destroying the actual losing universes. So Emosh, why do you feel as if it's important for the Omni King to keep his word within the Tournament of Power?
I agree exactly with what you said. I think it's definitely important for the Omni King to stay true to his word, because it sets the example to not only the fighters who are participating in this tournament, it sets an example for the gods of destruction and creation, and for potentially future gods, because we know that the angels will not be erased as a result of this tournament, right? So if the angels happen to be appointed to new gods of destruction or creation to an extent, granted that theoretically that's what could happen, the angels could always tell the story, the same story that we told Goku about one day the Omni King was upset, he just destroyed, you know, there used to be 18 universes and he just destroyed 6 of them, they all just went poof, right? So with that, I think it sets a good tone, it sets a good example for showcasing who he is as a character, that he's not someone, that he's not just a pushover to just, you know, take lightly. And I would say, just because we're on the subject, that the only way that this is okay, the only way that if he doesn't do this, it becomes okay, is if he becomes so happy with the Tournament of Power, similarly to how he was so happy with the Zen exhibition match, right? That mortals of the lowest mortal rank could compete at such a high intensity, where he becomes so happy with it that he wants to hold more tournaments of power going down the line. Are we going to see that? No, but it would. I think that's the only way where it could be okay, and that would be permissible for him not to erase anybody. But anything other than that, I think it's important that he sets the example.
And I think that the fighters ought to realize how powerful the Omni King truly is in seeing Zenchan's power be performed right before their very eyes. And I do think that the losing universe, if of course each individual fighter from that universe gets thrown out, should be erased on the fly, just for everyone else to see the level of power and the level of seriousness coming from the Omni King himself. And I do think that having everything be erased just to demonstrate to the fighters that the Omni King isn't joking would not only A, put fear in their hearts and having to try their very best, but B, also raise a different level of tension in allowing the Tournament of Power to actually feel that much more important. Moving on to point number 2 is utilizing Cabba within the Tournament of Power. I think it's safe to say that thus far in Dragon Ball Super, they haven't really capitalized or utilized Cabba the way they have Caulifla and Kale. Caulifla and Kale having to showcase what they can truly do in unleashing their potentials, in seeing what they did within Dragon Ball Super, and having Caulifla not only reach Super Saiyan 1, but Super Saiyan 2, all within a span of 2 episodes, and also seeing Kale unleash a similar form to that of Broly. So I wanted to ask you, Emosh, how can we utilize Cabba to his fullest potential in having him be relevant within the Tournament of Power?
Right, at this point, there's not really much else you can do in terms of, you know, scaling him properly with where I feel he should be above Caulifla and Kale. But granted that Caulifla, they're both in a way kind of designed for Broly if you look at it. Caulifla's attacks do resemble that of Broly's Omega Cannon or Eraser Cannon, whatever you call it, Omega Blaster I think it was. And then we have Kale, who actually looks like Broly, right? So then we have Cabba, who personally reminds me more of Gohan. He reminds me more of Gohan than he does of Vegeta. But with that stuff aside, I think it would be great to see him transform midway into the tournament, maybe Super Saiyan 2, and then, you know, he kind of edges everything out. But when you compare him to like Caulifla and Kale, and maybe because maybe him as a fighter, he ends up being a lot more passionate, and he's able, kind of like Gohan again, he has more potential. He fights with more more oomph, more of that oomph, that kick to it. And
Yes.
I think that's something we need to see. But at this point in time, I kind of feel like they won't give him that, but maybe going down the line, if they kind of give us a backstory between him and Vegeta and stuff like that, then we could see something along the lines where maybe Vegeta trains him. We never know. We've never seen something like that from Vegeta. Vegeta's never really even trained his own kids, right? So maybe if he sees someone who's worthy of his time, just the same, similarly to how Whis saw Vegeta worthy of his time, Vegeta had to beg Whis to train him. We can get the same scenario here. But as far as the tournament is concerned, I would personally love to see Cabba be equal to a Caulifla and maybe Kale at the same time, if not a little bit more, based on potential alone, based on his drive to actually want to save the universe, versus Caulifla just wanted to prove that she's stronger than everybody, right? So I think that's important.
I also would love to see Cabba showcase his potential against Vegeta, against even Gohan, because as you said, I feel as if Gohan and Cabba are mirror images of each other. They both share, not only weirdly enough, the same hairstyle, but also the same viewpoints to their universe and whatnot. So having Cabba be utilized here, I don't think they ought to give him some sort of Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue form.
No.
As you said, it would be great to see Cabba even transcend further into a Super Saiyan 2. If anything, if they really want to push the boundaries of the Universe 6 Saiyans, perhaps even willingly giving him Super Saiyan 3, somewhere along the lines, even though Super Saiyan 3 and or 2 do not compare to Super Saiyan Blue, seeing Cabba be relevant, being one of the most relevant fighters of Universe number 6, I think would make him stand out amongst the rest, and seeing this one little lonely Saiyan having to come all this way and having to not only fight Vegeta and learning Super Saiyan and having to teach others what it's like to transform into a Super Saiyan, but also see Cabba, as you said, fight passionately, not just for himself, but for his people, because we do know that he cares deeply about Planet Sadal, and he does care about his people, as seen with Vegeta when he first threatened him. He told him, if I go to your universe, I will find out where your planet is, and I will destroy your people, and that triggered Cabba into unleashing Super Saiyan. So now that everything is on the line, this ought to push Cabba in having him be utilized further in this tournament, perhaps even fight Gohan, fight the androids, fight Vegeta, especially since he looks up to him as his master. I don't think that Cabba ought to be foddered. I think that Cabba ought to play a huge detriment to Universe number 6, considering that I don't think he's a weak fighter. I think actually he's one of the top 5 fighters within that universe, and I don't see Cabba having to fall short. He should not fall short. However, when looking at it from the female standpoint and seeing him having to be compared to Caulifla and Kale, it may not happen to where Cabba is going to exceed them in terms of power, especially Kale, but I think it'll make sense ultimately to have Cabba surpass them, since he was the one that not only transformed into Super Saiyan first, but having to see all his training utilizations be done years after the Universe 6 battle and seeing how far along the lines he's come. Moving on to point number 3 is Frieza betraying his team. It's unquestionable that Frieza does have his own agenda, and having to see the way Frieza was portrayed, having to lead up to the actual tournament, and seeing how devious Frieza was, and having to get Frost to work with him for their own agenda and having to achieve their own plans in the Tournament of Power, I personally feel, having given Frieza's nature, he should do something along the lines to where he jeopardizes Team Universe 7 in winning the Tournament of Power. That just goes to show how Frieza is as a character. They should not allow Frieza to cooperate fully with his team, maybe early on in the beginning just to gain their trust, but ultimately what I think should happen is have Frieza be the backstabber of Team Universe number 7 and having to either betray Goku, betray Vegeta, or betray somebody, and having to display how sinister he is and having to display how devious he is. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this in having Frieza betray his team to fulfill his own agenda.
Is it necessary? I would say yes. Definitely, because they brought him back for what appears to be the sole purpose of causing trouble within the tournament, as we saw during the end of the episode after, he showed us his true golden Frieza form and stuff like that, right? So it's definitely, I guess it's necessary. I would say yes, to the extent that whether or not Frost does play a big role in fulfilling his plan, whatever that may be. I also feel like maybe a couple of other potential warriors should also get involved in this plan. I don't think him and Frost have the firepower or just have the means to do it, by themselves. I don't think they carry that, that mindset. Frost is not strong. He's devious as well. He does make up for some of the things that Frieza's lacking in. But Frieza himself, I think he's gonna have his whole team watching him as well. Potentially, maybe even Beerus, as well as the Daishinkan, the Anime King. So many people who can literally erase him within, the blink of an eye are watching this tournament. So how could you do something, right, so devious as to quote unquote manipulate the gods or something like that, or maybe even put his own team in jeopardy, and then make it so nonchalant like nobody notices it, right? Especially when this tournament is being so heavily supervised, just to impress the Omni King, just so he can have some fun. So is it necessary? Yes, because it does add drama, it does add excitement, it does add that, oh my god, it's Frieza again, and he's stronger than he's ever been, he's more devious than he's ever been, doesn't give a damn whether or not Universe 7 gets erased or whatever universe gets erased, right? So that's bad enough. So I would say, and just like Bro even said, he's more of a god of destruction than you are. He does not care, he has no chill, and I think that alone is going to add and spice the tournament power up. It's going to give it that, that extra livelihood that we need to see in terms of drama, in terms of something bad happening. But will it last long is the question. Will this plan come to pass is the question. I personally don't think so. And after that, I think personally this should be the last time we see Frieza, in my opinion.
I think that this auto sets up also in Frieza having to be the virus that infects the Tournament of Power, because everyone seems to be fighting for their own respective universes, and Frieza is the only person here that doesn't seem to care. We see the Pride Troopers, Universe 6, Universe 4, Universe 7, Universe 2, everyone seems to be fighting not just for their own survival, but for the survival of their own universe, whereas Frieza doesn't have any intention in seeing his universe thrive, as I do think Frieza's intention, his true intentions, are to not only get payback at Goku, but also seemingly enough is cooking up a plan against Lord Beerus as well. And I do think that by establishing Frieza's true nature here and being the backstabbing person that he is, would actually make the Tournament of Power that much more entertaining. Moving on to point number 4 is giving Gohan the spotlight. And this is very obvious because now Gohan has been absent for mostly every single Dragon Ball arc in Dragon Ball Super. The Battle of Gods story, Gohan did nothing. The Resurrection F story, Gohan did nothing. The Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, Gohan did nothing. The Goku Black story, Gohan did nothing. So I personally feel now, more so now than ever, Gohan's time is now to shine more so than anyone else, and giving Gohan fans a reason to care in order for them to get invested. And no, I don't think that Gohan is going to have some sort of Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan White-like form. I think that Gohan is going to utilize the original ultimate potential that he originally gained from the Elder Kai in tapping into his true power. I think that Gohan's ultimate form will be heavily utilized in this tournament, and I think that more so now than ever, fans want to see what can Gohan do when his back is up against the wall. We saw what happened when Gohan's back was against the wall against Cell and Majin Buu, and I think more so now than ever, Gohan should be prominently featured in possibly even getting the most eliminations just to redeem the character that once was of Gohan. So how do you feel about Gohan having the spotlight?
As far as eliminating the most characters, I would say that's okay only if after this we're not going to get any more Gohan. Right? So, and I just want to make this clear now. Me being a Gohan fan, everybody knows this, right? A lot of people know this. And to you guys listening out there, whether or not you like Gohan, there's no question that Gohan needs to be somebody in this tournament. Not only is he the leader, he needs to take command, okay? We need to accept the fact that we're not going to get everything we want out of him, right? There's too many other characters, there's too much character diversity at this point in time for us to just expect everything to happen between Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta. It's just not fair, because we got hit, we got killed, we got Jiren, we got the Universe 11, we got all these universes we're competing with. A lot of these fighters have so much potentially, right? At the same time, we need to accept that we're not gonna get Gohan soloing everybody. We're not gonna get Gohan's transforming into something new. They're gonna utilize Ultimate Gohan. I feel like that's the right move. It is probably the best marketed in terms of market value. It's the best right now. You can't argue with that. And I think it's the most missed. Was episode 90, the fight between him and his father, enough at this point in time? Back then it was, but that wasn't the Tournament of Power. Right now we're going to the Tournament of Power. We need to see something like that, if not better, going into this tournament. So with that being said, either A, Gohan needs to take command, get his team together, and play a vital and key role in making sure as to why, whether or not his Universe 7 wins, but at least they make it far enough into the finals or something like that because of his guidance and his leadership, right? Don't make him the leader only for him to get shitted on as a leader. It's bad enough that we got tracksuit Gohan, just like you said, we got ice cream eating Gohan,
Absolutely.
We got textbook Gohan. It's too much. So with that being said, either A, Gohan does what you said, and then we don't see any more, we don't see much from him anymore, but we're happy because we got what he wanted. He stepped up when we needed him to, when we needed him to the most. Or B, he takes command and plays a key and vital role in making sure that his team does well. Will we get both? I don't think so, because based on their track record, it just doesn't seem like they would give everything to Gohan out of the blue like that. But I just think that it's gonna be one or the other, and I'm just gonna let you guys know, whatever we get from him, if it's sufficient enough, don't ask for more, because we might not get any more. So that's how I feel about
I would
that.
love to see Gohan actually stand up and be able to hold his own, and even after getting beat down, having him come back for more and more, because I don't want to see Gohan as the team captain, as the flag bearer of Universe 7 go down early, because if that were to happen, I mean, number one, the fandom would just be in an uproar, and number two, it would display how much they care about Gohan to a sense where they don't really want to utilize him at all, and in the idea that so far in Dragon Ball Super, he hasn't done anything. Legitimately, Gohan, every single time he stepped up against Beerus, against Frieza, he got put down. So I think that more so now than ever, they ought to give the spotlight to Gohan in demonstrating what he can do, and as you said, even if we don't see anything from Gohan from this point on, at least we can say that he went all in within the Tournament of Power. Now moving on to number 5, Vegeta's redemption. Everybody already knows that Goku is going to break past his limits and become way stronger than how he is now, but where does this leave Vegeta? Has Vegeta also tapped into something to where it puts him ahead of Goku? What can Vegeta possibly do to be able to rival Goku in power? I think more so now than ever, number 1, Vegeta should have his redemption against the likes of the Assassin Hit. We saw during the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, Hit made an example of Vegeta by knocking him out in his Super Saiyan Blue form. Having to learn from that, I think it's time for Vegeta not to knock out Hit or put him down, but more or less be able to rival Hit in not only countering the Toki Tobashi, but also being able to stand up against him, as I would also love to see Vegeta, as I do think he had the most character development within Dragon Ball Super, I would love to see Vegeta display raw, unmitigated power against anyone who steps in his way. After all, he is the Prince of all Saiyans, and we saw how far he can go whenever he gets angry, i.e. Goku Black, i.e. Frieza. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this in seeing Vegeta shine in the Tournament of Power.
It's funny that you mentioned Goku Black. We need to see what he did to Goku Black, but for like 4 or 5 episodes straight.
Everybody,
I'm not kidding.
yes.
Dude, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And I'm not saying this because, just because Vegeta. I mean, we have not seen anything from him since the Goku Black arc. After that, he was gone, right? They purposely pushed him to the side so he could be with quote-unquote Bulma because he wanted to be there for his daughter and stuff like that, which is great, right? But at the same time, to this day, he's the only one amongst the two, Goku and Vegeta, even Gohan, who have stepped foot in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber only to come back out to still be put below Goku, potentially, right? And now we're going to the Tournament of Power. Once again, he stepped into the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. We don't know what he's capable of. We don't know that he's gotten stronger. To this point, all we know is that he just keeps blowing up the damn place. But when it comes time for him to showcase that, we only get that for like half an episode. Nah, man. I want to see Vegeta kick some ass for like 2, 3, 4 episodes straight. Then let him say, I'm the Prince of all Saiyans, Vegeta, right? And then do whatever you want after that. As far as redemption versus Hit, that's questionable because we do, which we're going to touch up on later. That's questionable. Maybe he could get his redemption against Hit, but at the same time, where does that lead the likes of Jiren, right? So, which we're going to touch up on later. But as far as Vegeta, it's very much like Gohan, but on a more aggressive scale. Vegeta needs to be that dude who's beating everybody's ass. Gohan needs to be that guy who's commanding everything and who plays a pivotal role in making sure his team wins. But with Vegeta, I'm just gonna say, Vegeta. Give us Vegeta. The Vegeta we all know and love, the Vegeta we remember, okay? The Saiyan arc Vegeta, not giving a damn about anybody Vegeta, Majin Vegeta versus Majin Buu Vegeta, stuff like that, that's what I want to see, okay?
I definitely want to see Vegeta display his anger in the tournament because number one, he has a newborn baby. I think more so now than ever, we see the development of his character. He's learning to care, and I think when he realizes that, his daughter, his son, his wife, their lives are on the line, this ought to prominently cause Vegeta to step it up more so than anyone else in displaying what he can truly do. And I mean, yes, Goku is going to be in the main event, I think, against Jiren and such other fighters, and I think that Goku is going to have the spotlight in having to fight the strongest, But in terms of Vegeta handling business, I think Vegeta ought to be that guy in completely clearing house. Now moving on to our 6th point is lifting the rules. I think it's safe to say that we speak on behalf of the fandom when we say that the rules are completely stupid. First of all, you can't fly. Second of all, we have the incorporation of all of these restrictions from using weapons and items when the Zen exhibition, battle between Team Universe 9 and Team Universe 7 displayed what a survival setting is like. So I do think that at some given point what they ought to do is lift the rules of at least flight, because thus far having these fighters not be able to fly is incredibly dumb. I mean, I think that once they pass the barrier of the edge of the ring and going into the void, that's when I think gravity itself ought to pull them down into the void. But while they're within the tournament like ring, they should be able to fly around. I mean, because if you look at the overall structure, I mean, you're fighting for survival, so why aren't you able to fly? That doesn't make any sense. The only characters that can fly are characters that have wings, that were born with wings, as Whis told Vegeta. So what are your overall thoughts on lifting the rules in the Tournament of Power?
As far as those characters with wings, I think we've only saw 2 in there, right?
Yeah.
So that's an issue. Like you're only catering to 2 specific characters. You might as well just cater to the majority and just make this an all-out slugfest, right? As far as no weapons and no cheating stuff, of course you want that, right? But at the same time, essentially it is kind of like a deathmatch, and you're absolutely right when you said that this an exhibition match was a much better example of what a survival tournament could or should have been like. I feel like they will lift the rules. There's really not much to talk about here, right? I mean, they should. It adds more. I mean, think about it. When you YouTube search or Google search Tournament of Power, right? What are you more than likely to search for? The part where they lifted the rules and shit got real, right? So that part, I think, in terms of market value, in terms of overall business and stuff like that, and just for something to remember, that this was the biggest match of the century, the biggest arc potentially in Dragon Ball history, maybe, right? That's up to you to decide, guys. Let us know in the comments. But other than that, this is necessary. They have to do that. There's no reason why, every single fight we've seen, whether it be a villain or even tournaments, even in tournaments, they flew. Trunks versus Goten, right? They flew when they fought eventually, but they stayed within the vicinity of the ring. This ring is humongous. There's no reason why they should not be allowed to fly eventually. I think, much like when the Hit was fighting Goku, right? They should lift the rules because, once again, this puts certain fighters at a handicap and it gives other fighters an advantage. I just don't think that's fair overall.
And this definitely limits the fighters within the tournament in not being able to fly around, and I would definitely love to see the rules be lifted because, I mean, I think we could all agree that the rule of not being able to fly in this tournament has to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say the rules ought to be lifted. So, moving on to point number 7 is tension between the gods of destruction. Having to have each individual god, in my opinion, showcase and display tension between one another, I think is a good example in telling a good story and having to fight for their positions as gods, because we do know that with the other 4 gods who are exempt, they have nothing to worry about. But as an example, Beerus and Kitela, they have a long on-standing history, that stems very deep in Kitela hating Beerus, as we saw in previous episodes, with the Mouse God of Destruction having to vow that Beerus will be erased and wanting him to be erased. And I think that I would love to see, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone, to see Beerus and Kitela have some sort of tension. Obviously enough, it's Tom and Jerry, cat and mouse. So what are your overall thoughts on there being tension between the gods of destruction?
I can't stress this enough. Right now, Kitela seems to be the only god between the two, that showcase any kind of dislike towards each other, right? That's 1.
Right.
2, so it would be nice to see some kind of backstory, but behind that, maybe they don't even have to give us everything. Just tell us why, other than him being a mouse and Beerus being a cat, because then again, Kitela's a mouse and Ramus is an elephant, so there should be some kind of relationship there, right? But there isn't. So What I'm saying is, overall, we need to see some kind of interaction between all of the gods that are participating. Even if you want to talk about the gods who aren't, perhaps they're they're belittling the gods who are participating in the tournament. You see, oh, we're superior to you, this is what happens, yada yada yada. I think this is good, it's healthy, it adds to the ecosystem of what the tournament power could be, because like I said, see, there's so many things that we're expecting, right? But these are things that are expected for a reason. It's universe survival. Like, you're fighting for the for the survival of your universe. There's no question about that. So we need to see some kind of interaction between them, mainly because we haven't been getting enough of them to begin with. We can't see them fight. All we got was Liquor, Iwan, and Iraq. That's all we got, and that's not enough. We got some bickering between Beerus and Champa, who are brothers, so there's no reason why we can't get bickering between the other gods, especially even the Kaoshin. I would love to see that. Maybe even, the angels giving them advice, stuff like that. I don't know. I just want to see interaction. I think it's important. I think it's healthy. And once again, it adds on to the arc. It gives us something to remember.
Especially since everyone's position is on the line, I would love to see how one god would react upon seeing another get erased. Moving on to point number 8 is placing Goku in a dire situation and desperate scenario. Goku cannot possibly be the Superman of the story. I think I speak on behalf of everyone where we want to see Super Saiyan Blue Goku get pushed in this tournament, even perhaps against Jiren, who is said to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest fighter in this entire tournament. And for me, even after Goku breaks his limits, I would love to see Goku struggle. I would love to see Goku in a position similar to how he was during the Cell story, and seeing his teammates pretty much struggle and saying, guys, I did not know it would turn out this way. I apologize. Seeing Goku realize, like, wow, I bit off a bit more than I can chew in having to think that I can rival against such fighters, but it turns out that there are even fighters out there even stronger than me. So what do I do now? So what are your overall thoughts in placing Goku in a desperate situation and not making him the Superman of the show, and not making him be this, immovable object, and having Goku be actually humanized for once and having to be humbled again? What are your thoughts on that?
I think this could be heavily tied into our point number 3 with Frieza betraying his team. I think that would be great, right? Because once again, it gives us the love-hate relationship between, Goku and Frieza at this point in time. And the reason I say love is because Frieza apparently loves to hate this man. He just can't get enough of him, right? So that's what I mean when I say that. So I think that could heavily play into that potentially. Any other dire situation would be perhaps his universe is getting messed up. He can't protect them. He can't defend them. He cannot help them. Goku is usually, and especially the tournament formats, we're used to seeing one-on-ones. Right now, we're seeing, this week we're going to see what? 1 versus 8, Goku's going to solo the world and stuff like that. So you're right. To an extent, I would say it's okay for Goku to solo an X amount of people. But when it comes down to it, 48 minutes of fighting nonstop, whether you're in your base, whether you're in your Super Saiyan 1, 2, or 3, even Super Saiyan Blue, the point is Goku cannot and should not be the Superman of the story. However, I will say that it would be good to see him get pushed into a corner. If it's due to the hands of Frieza, for example, I think that would be great to see. Maybe even Frost. There's a lot of unfinished business between Goku and a lot of these characters. But, we'll see. I think, but I agree with you.
I think by seeing Goku realize that he bit off a bit more than he can chew, that would not only humble him, because thus far he's been arrogant, he's been very cocky in his ability, and it's not a bad thing, and it's not like we're hating on Goku, but we want to see what will happen if Goku has his back against the wall. What would happen if Goku realizes that he cannot solo his way throughout this entire tournament? What if he does come across that barrier, that wall, having to be Jiren, and he cannot possibly overcome that wall? What does he do then? Even with Kaioken, even with this Limit Breaker form, I would love to see Goku similar to the Cell story in realizing that as strong as he is, he cannot possibly win this by himself, which leads into point number 9 in having Jiren eliminate Hit in order to be built up properly. Now, to some people, that may not be a big issue, but to some it is. I think that to establish Jiren as a formidable threat, as a formidable opponent to not just Universe number 7, but to everyone else competing in the Tournament of Power, by having Jiren, I think, eliminate one of the strongest people, that being Hit, from this tournament, I think would establish Jiren in having to be a formidable fighter. I mean, just imagine this for a second. Imagine Goku and Vegeta realizing that the assassin himself, the one who can improve rapidly during the course of battle, has just been thrown out by someone even stronger than how Hit is. So I wanted to ask you, how do you think Jiren's character should be portrayed, and seeing something from him in order for him to be built up as the formidable opponent that everyone, is afraid to even come across? Now, this is going to be big. And I say this because I can't stress this enough, because if you think about it, other than Vegeta, we can't say Vegeta because Vegeta is on 7, right? And besides Jiren and Goku, who else is there? Beside Hit, who else is on a comparative level to Hit right now? At the time of this video, there is nobody compared to Hit at this point in time. Nobody in Universe 6, nobody in any other universe is being hyped up this much. These 4 guys, Jiren,
Goku, Vegeta, and Hits, right? I don't want to say Gohan because I feel like these four deserve to be in the ring together when it comes down to it, and all is said and done. I feel like these four should be the primary fighters when it comes down to it, and all is said and done. If you want to throw Gohan in the mix, that's fine. However, I feel like those four should be the primary ones. However, at the same time, Jiren, if he is going to beat anybody, and it goes back to us talking about lifting the rules. If we could lift the rules, maybe to, allow flying, maybe even to allow killing to an extent. Potentially, you never know, which is going to bring us, we're going to touch upon this as well, right? If you do that, and you throw Hit out after he's coming at you with 100% effort, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. And then Jiren, we can look at Jiren and say, yo guys, I don't know how Goku's gonna do this. I don't know what the hell Goku's gonna do, limit breaker or not. I'm sorry. This man just soloed a person who can literally one-shot you in the heart, and I don't know what the fuck Goku's gonna do at this point. I just can't see it happening. So once again, it adds to the depth, to the feel, and to the memory of coming back to something like this. Because right now, not many people search for things in Dragon Ball Super, maybe key moments here and there, but Dragon Ball Z to this day still gets so much airtime. It still gets so much people watching and coming back, wanting to see those things over and over again, those tournaments, those fights. Goku, Majin Vegeta, amazing fight, right? So Goku and Vegeta versus Kid Buu, amazing fight. A fight to the death. We need that in this tournament.
I definitely agree, and I definitely think that Jiren ought to be displayed as one of the most dangerous fighters in this tournament, not just based on how he looks, because, judging based on appearance, he looks very intimidating, but I do think that by establishing his character and having him throw someone out who's also equal to or stronger, possibly even a little weaker, someone like Hit, or perhaps even like, as you said, Gohan maybe. I mean, having Jiren eliminate someone who is very, very important in this tournament would not only catch everyone's attention, but also let everyone know, like, okay, that's the person that we have to look out for. Which brings us to finally point number 10, sudden death with time expiring. Now just imagine this situation in the Tournament of Power. You have Goku, who is the last one on Team Universe number 7, you have Jiren, who is the last one on Team Universe number 11, and you have Hit, who is the last one of Team Universe number 6, all in the ring at the same time while the 48 minutes expires. What do you do then? What does the Omni King do then in seeing 3 people instead of 1 be remaining in the ring? I think that by displaying and showcasing a sudden death like scenario would definitely get the Tournament of Power much more hype behind it and saying, okay, well, where do we go from here? Now it boils down to not just 3 or 2 or even 4 people, but now we have more to look forward to, as maybe the Daishenkan can add more time, or perhaps even say, you know what, forget the original rules, now that time's expired and, the remaining people are still in the ring, we're gonna fight until either A, someone dies, or B, if you just bring them out. So what are your thoughts on sudden death occurring in the Tournament of Power?
Well, ideally, even if you lift the rule for no killing, right, that doesn't mean kill each other, right? So I just want to clarify that. It doesn't mean somebody has to die. What it does is tell you, the viewer, the watcher, the fan of this series, that okay, this tournament is the real deal, that they did seal off this tournament, that the last final minutes of this tournament, or maybe we get the 5 minutes of eternity, hopefully, right? Because this is the one arc I want that in. Right. So it tells you that, okay, they sealed it off properly, they're doing it properly, and this shit is the real deal. That's what we need to see. And with that being said, if Jiren in that scenario was a knockout Hit at 100% effort, that is insane. Not because Hit is strong, not because Jiren is strong. It showcases that even Jiren can solo the likes of someone. Now, the only question is how he does it if they give us the scenario, theoretically, right? So if he does it easily, and then that also pushes Goku to engage Jiren after that, and Jiren still has this much stamina and endurance left to solo Super Saiyan Blue Goku, there's a problem. And once again, this builds up not only Jiren, but it builds up this concept of Limit Breaker Goku, whatever this form is, whether or not it's Kaioken, whatever it is, it builds up the dire need for a situation that Alex just touched upon before. He talked about there needing to be a dire situation for Goku, for him to be credible, for him to showcase himself a certain way. So whether or not he wins or loses, right? The point is they need to do it right. This is the arc to do it. There's no excuse, and I hope we get to see what we came here to see.
Despite all that having to be said, the Tournament of Power is undoubtedly going to be one of the best arcs within Dragon Ball Super, especially from a standpoint of battle and storytelling. But we would like to know your thoughts as to what you guys want to see in the Tournament of Power battle. What are some things you guys think ought to be featured? What characters do you guys think ought to have the most shine? Thank you all for watching, guys. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, if you guys cannot wait to watch the Tournament of Power battle, go on ahead and slap a like on this video. If you guys are new to this channel, be sure to go on ahead and hit that subscribe button for more news, information, and updates. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.